And if you're willing to live in the worst one, you can not only be living for free, but you can get paid rent to own and live in that building. And I think especially for folks that don't have big families and kids and whatnot, if you're young and starting out, get an FHA loan, buy a 4-unit building, live in the cheapest unit. You'll be a millionaire in 10 years. Yeah, like almost guaranteed.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that opportunity is out there for almost anyone. It's just the knowledge and the skills to do it are in podcasts like yours. That's how I learned to do what I do.
Here we are today with Beyond the Listing. I am your host, Pam Flitton, with RE/MAX Fine Properties, with over 23 years of experience in the real estate world. But my guest today is Dave Holman. He is the founder and owner of Holman Homes LLC. He's based out of Maine. He owns his own real estate company, and it's focused on acquiring, managing, and developing real estate and commercial properties. So, Dave, thanks so much for joining me today. I can't wait for a lively conversation on what you do and how you do it and learning all about you. So, take it over.
Thanks for having me on, Pam. Excited to add some value for your audience and answer questions and keep it light and fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks so much. And I think it's going to be a great conversation. Advocate for property ownership. I think it's the most important thing, one of the most important things that people can do. And I think there's some really easy things that people can get into it. And I think they make it a lot harder than it should be. But as long as they have somebody that's in their corner there for them, holding their hands, it's a simple process.
Absolutely. When you have both banks and governments involved, it can get real complicated real fast. And when we bought our first home, I was very lucky that my dad knew a great realtor like yourself with 20 plus years of experience who had the patience to take babes lost in the woods like we were, first time home buyers, and show us probably 15 different houses over his weekend time and everything else until we finally found the right place for us. And I think that journey is a really rewarding one for both parties, and it's hard. Like, I transitioned mostly to commercial real estate. I still help friends and a few folks with residential, but the residential is where there's really heartwarming stories. Commercial, you get that sometimes, but other times it's just an investment with numbers and there's not a lot of emotion involved. But other times you're helping a great young entrepreneur get the business space they need, and that can make all the difference.
Yeah,
too.
That's fantastic. I think you're absolutely correct with residential real estate. It is a lot more heartwarming, for sure. I've worked with people for years getting them the right place at the right time. So you got to have a lot of patience with it. And commercial can take years as well to get the right property and to make the process all work out. So it's one thing or another. Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with real estate for the first almost 30 years of my life, other than living in it most times, except for when I was camping. So, came from middle-class family in Maine, went off to college at Carleton College in Minnesota, where I got very interested in green building and design and construction techniques. But I didn't make use of that right away. I was a Latin American studies major, so I went down to Bolivia, ended up meeting a girlfriend who's now my wife with 2 kids. So I went back to Bolivia after college, and we started a chain of stores down there, camping stores, which is one of my hobbies and passions. And it just grew and grew to the point where I was like, gosh, we've got 10 employees and thousands of dollars of sales happening left and right. I should probably know something about business, because I had not taken any business classes or anything up to that point. When we came back to the U.S. in 2009, I went and got my MBA. We got married. She's now a U.S. citizen, and we had the start of a life together. And I used my MBA to get into the lucrative nonprofit world. I started pulling down 30 grand a year in salary. I'm being a little facetious that I was underselling myself as usual, but it was a great cause. I have a big heart. I love feeling like I'm doing good while I'm making money. And back then I didn't make much. Now I've transitioned to making a lot, and that's been very fulfilling to do it in a way that it really helps people, which I think you can do as a realtor, you can do as an investor. I run a property management company. I think being a good landlord is one of the best things on the planet you can do, because being a bad landlord is awful.
It is.
You
It
see so much.
absolutely is. I've had before I bought homes, I've had good and bad.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing is it's helpful I think for people to have that experience. I had good bosses and bad bosses in my work career as a W-2 employee, so that now that I'm self-employed with businesses of my own, I'm trying to emulate those good
Yeah.
bosses and trying to learn and grow as a leader and help people be productive and be happy, because I can be productive and happy all I want with just one person, but if my other 20 employees are all not happy, then I'm 20 times less productive than I could be. So it's really about team building, I think, in real estate. Even if you're a single agent doing stuff on your own, you got to have a good team of, I have a great inspector I can get you, I have a great title company, all these different resources that you can connect people with. And I think it's the same with investing, putting deals together. You have to work with the right people, and they're not always the cheapest, but you often save money in the end. There's a lot of get what you pay for in our business, whether it's a product or a service, right? Like you can get the cheapest product out there and it's probably going to break, and you're going to get another one and it's not going to operate well, and there's going to be headaches. And then there's others that are better quality. And I think the same can usually apply to services as well, where if you're getting the cheapest of anything, that's going to come with some other sort of costs that you have to navigate.
Well, absolutely, and you are correct. You're only as good as the team that works with you, right? And as for employees, if your employees are happy, they're going to be more productive. So you got to make sure that your employees are happy or your teammates are happy, because they're going to work better and they're going to work better for you. And the same with the team that you have around you, as long as they are a great team. I have inspectors that I work with. I have contractors that I work with, and you're right. They're not the cheapest, and they're not the most expensive. But they are good contractors, and I would refer them out to anybody. And as long as they do a great job, I'm going to always refer them, and I would use them. So that's just the way I will
That's
do
the
it.
key. Yeah, that's the key, is keeping your little network of people in the right hands. Because I've had bad title companies, I've had bad contractors, and they can almost derail an entire deal. If they don't know how to do their job right, or they're doing it just sloppily or wrong, that comes back to haunt you, even though it's not your fault. And that's why I think you're wise to be sending people to trusted sources and not just going with the cheapest all the time. Sometimes you need cheap and you have to deal with the cheap contractor, and I think if you're very engaged and participatory, then maybe that can work. But if you're hands off and you're hoping that comes out okay without a lot of supervision, good luck to you.
And I've got different tiers of people that I use, and I will let you choose which way do you want to go. I've got some that I'm like, I've got these people that you can use, and they do this type of job for this amount of money. I've got these people that I use that do this type of job, but for this amount of money. It depends on where you want to be and what you want to do. Yeah.
Totally. 100%. You got to sense what the client needs, like what they want, and partner them with that tier of service. I think that is very wise. And you don't get the Cadillac for the person that wants the Toyota, and vice versa. You don't get the Toyota for the Cadillac driver. They're very different. They'll get you to the same place, but they're different experiences.
Absolutely. So you had mentioned that I'm so curious as to know, you said you had mentioned that you opened up some camping stores. What are the camping stores? What's the name?
Yeah, it was called the Spitting Llama Bookstore and Outfitter. We had 3 stores in Bolivia, and we ran those for 3 years ourselves, down from '06 to '09. And then my father-in-law, Mario, ran them for the next 10 years, 11 years really, up to COVID. And in COVID, we were just like, there's no vaccine. It's really dangerous. You're almost 70, and doing like person-to-person retail work in a store is like not safe. So he said, just shut it down. Don't try to keep that going. And he still does a little bit of that on the side. But it was a really fun endeavor. I'm sure if I had stayed down there, we could have made those a big multinational chain, and that could have been my whole career. And it was really fun to just travel, see amazing places, meet great people from all over the world and locals alike. But there's pros and cons. The developing world doesn't have the cleanest air, the healthiest healthcare systems. There's pros and cons to being in these beautiful places with rich cultures that are different from our own homes. But I do encourage, this is aside from real estate, but I encourage everyone to travel. If you don't have a passport, get one, get outside your home state and country and see some of the world, because there's great people, great places out there, and it will make you a better professional here in the U.S. It will open you to new ideas, new ways of doing things.
Dave, this is why it's called Beyond the Listing, because we go way beyond the listing sometimes. Yeah, I think that's awesome. Bolivia, I've never even considered it, but boy, did that spark an interest for sure.
It's a very beautiful country. It's right next to Peru, so you had the Incan Empire. It's the only majority indigenous country in South America, so incredibly rich culture. Every city has like 20 different food dishes that you've never tasted or heard of, and a great little wine culture in the cloud forest. They have pristine Amazon. It's an incredible place to go.
I believe I really like your spirit here. All right, let's get back to real estate over here and tell me a little bit more about what you do and how you, because you really, when you got into real estate, you got into you started off in investing when you got into real estate, and then you got your real estate license. So you do more of commercial properties, is that correct?
I do, yeah. That I have a circuitous route. Yeah, I only started when we got pregnant with our first child, and my stock market investing was not gonna enhance our lifestyle and give us the ability to do what we wanted when we wanted. And me working in nonprofits paid the bills. I had an MBA. At that point, I was working for a college doing fundraising. I got to meet very wealthy people, that were writing 6 and 7 figure checks to the school that just boggled my mind. And it took that experience of, I'm going to be a parent now, to say, all right, I got to figure out a better way to invest. And I just started learning about real estate. At first I was, ew, landlords, yucky. Like there's certain industries that don't have a great reputation, right? Used car sales, landlords, we're not beloved in the eyes of the public. But if you do it well, you can provide incredible value to people. And I had learned about green building in college, and that environmental reason sparked my interest of saying, look, I can make my own house as green as I want, solar panels, heat pumps, insulation, the rest of it. That's not really going to move the needle. But if other people will pay me to do it to their houses through their rent, that could be a snowball that starts rolling. That could get some economies of scale going. And if I can actually make the rental more profitable by insulating it and converting it from oil to heat pumps, that is truly a win-win. So that's what sparked my interest of saying, wow, I can invest using leverage. There's only one industry that'll happily give you 5-to-1 leverage from banks to buy things, and that's real estate. I guess it's 4-to-1 if you're doing 80-20 with your loan to value ratio. But I think it's incredibly important, especially for realtors, to think about investing and to do it, because if we're only doing the transaction part, whether it's single family, multifamily, or really big commercial deals, if we're just transactional, we can only tell half the story, because we know a lot about how to do a good transaction, and we might know what our own home is like, but we don't know what it's like to be a landlord, work with property management, and to work with a ton of different contractors on a lot of different issues. And I think the more experience, that realtors build in doing that, the better they'll be able to help their clients. And being a realtor is a job that you get paid for. You could call it by the hour. It's by the deal. But as soon as we stop working, we stop earning, right? If we're just going to take a year off, you don't earn any money. If you become an investor, no matter at what age, you can eventually take that year off and be earning a lot of money. And so it is passive income that really lit a light bulb for me, that I want to combine with my active income. My realtor business is active. I was at a showing today with a seller and a client. I'm lucky to be doing dual disclosed agency there in that situation. And that's work. And it's great if I get a commission. Maybe 70, 80% of the time I do, and I'm gambling the other 20 or 30. You and I work for free, and that's not fun. But it's more justifiable if over time you're building your own portfolio of assets that can cash flow for you, provide you extra income, so that when the business side is slow, which frankly it has been fairly slow in recent years, I think for most people listening, that rental income can make up some important gaps. So I think there's a lot of good reasons why realtors should consider it, to be better at their jobs, to have more knowledge, more tools in their toolbox, and to build their own equity and wealth. There's no greater way to build your net worth than investing in real estate. Most people's net worth, their primary home, I forget the stat, but it's over 50%, far over in the US. Most people's net worth is in their primary home. And you're allowed to have more than one. You can have many units. I control and manage over 360 units right now, and we're building another 240 of them. So there's a lot of opportunity if you're out there looking to provide value for people, for your community. If your community is short on housing, or it's got beat up housing that needs improvement, like, you can make money by buying that and improving it. And that's a really fulfilling, helpful thing to do.
That's amazing. You said you had over 300 and you're about to build another 240. Is that correct? So yes. Is that all in residential, or is it 1 to 4 family, or do you go higher than that?
Yeah. It is everything except industrial. So we have a little bit of everything. We've got like 6 single family homes, a smattering of those 2 to 4 unit buildings, a bunch of the 10 to 20 unit buildings, and then a couple really big ones. We just built a 63 unit apartment building. We bought a former hospital. That's now 41 residential units and about 20 commercial. So there's some bigger things that can be done as well. But I don't encourage people to start with the multi-million-dollar deals, because if you don't know what you're doing, that's a great way to go bankrupt if you make some big mistakes. And so I think it's good to learn on the stuff that might not bankrupt you completely.
You might want to start off with a single. You might want to start off with a single family. Is that what you're saying?
I recommend that. I could think there's nothing more intuitive and understandable and liquid than a single family home. Like, you list that home for the right price, it'll sell in almost any market, any time. Like, you can sell it, you can turn it over. The more like weird and like my hospital, I can't just turn around and sell that tomorrow unless I'm doing a total fire sale, and that's weird. And even that, I think, is challenging. Single family homes are very intuitive, very easy to understand. They're easy to service. I think anyone can and probably should get started that way. You can obviously do a little bigger. A residential loan can get you up to 4 units. And if you're willing to live in the worst one, you can not only be living for free, but you can get paid rent to own and live in that building. And I think especially for folks that don't have big families and kids and whatnot, if you're young and starting out, get an FHA loan, buy a 4-unit building, live in the cheapest unit. You'll be a millionaire in 10 years. Yeah, like almost guaranteed.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that opportunity is out there for almost anyone. It's just the knowledge and the skills to do it are in podcasts like yours. That's how I learned to do what I do. It's just whenever I'm in the car or mowing the lawn or washing dishes, I'm listening and learning and trying to build the skills and knowledge that are needed to grow my business and my skill set over time.
So you're talking about managing properties. You manage properties with intention. So those properties that you have the properties that you have, I'm going to say now you're close to 500 of them, with the 200 that you're about to have, over 500.
That's where we're headed.
Yeah, so your property management company, do you manage just your properties, or do you have other properties that you manage as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. Mostly our own. We have a few third-party owners. We're picky about who we work with because I don't want to lead a stressful life. And I'm not that mad if I'm messing up on my own property, but I don't want other owners that kind of pressure unless they're going to be understanding and reasonable people to work with. And so that's how I'm recruiting third-party owners. But I'd say it's about 90-10 in terms of percentage that I have an ownership stake in and control, versus our friends that I manage their buildings for them. But right now we're bidding on an 85-unit opportunity where we'd be the manager of new condo construction, which is a stretch. Like, we haven't done condos. And I was very candid with the owner about that, the developer. But he likes me, I like him. He likes what we did in our new construction apartment building. It's not all that different. And he wants us to bid on it. My 7th grade teacher taught me one of the most important things in life, which is it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think that is very true. That's why we have this opportunity. I don't know that much about condo management. I'm learning. But I knew a person who trusted me and liked me and wanted me and my management company to be involved. So I think that is really key is, build your network, build your trustworthiness as a partner in deals. I would never back out of a deal easily. I think some people treat it very loosely, like it's just a money thing, and if the numbers aren't quite right, I'm out of here. You can do that, but you may develop a reputation as someone who doesn't close their deals and
Sure.
hamper you
I
sometimes.
believe you know what, I believe you totally get brought into situations and then you will get brought out of them, right? So when you get brought into it, you're brought into it for a reason. It's a learning opportunity. You learn what you're supposed to, and then you'll be brought out of it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
you just learn it, you take it, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, whatever, just learn it all, and then it'll be brought out. You'll be brought out of it.
I started managing buildings myself, and I had a full-time job, a day job with fundraising with the college at the time. Once it got beyond 8 or 10 units, I had outsourced that to a manager. He didn't perform quite the way I was hoping to fill the vacancies quickly and be on the ball, etc. I switched to a different company. They had bookkeeping issues and other things that just wasn't. I want to be an A student, and I was getting C's and D's, and I'm like, come on. And I learned from a friend that had a management company that it's risk management, really, because if you do it yourself, if you start your own company, you can control the rent price, the vacancy time. Those are all much more in your power to deal with. And I liked that sense of control where, yeah, if we have a vacancy, then it's just my fault. I can't blame anyone else and wish they would hurry up or whatever. I have to be the one either doing it directly or leading my team to prioritize it and do it. And consequently, we have very high occupancy rates. We're routinely above 95%. We have very high renewal rates. We have residents that have been with us the whole time we've owned buildings. Right. And that is worth something. You don't always, I could squeeze maximum rent out of them maybe if I tried, but then I'd have a multi-month turnover and I probably wouldn't even get that higher rent again. And sometimes the occupancy is really better than to take everything to the eye-wateringly highest level you can.
Sure, I tell my clients all the time, if you take care of your tenants and you don't try to squeeze them, if you take care of them, then they will stay with you. And as long as you don't overindulge them, as long as you don't try to take as most as you can out of them. I know every now and then you have to may increase them, but I've had clients that have had their tenants for 8-10 years, and they've had to only raise just a little bit. But as long as you take care of them, then they'll stay with you, for sure.
Yeah, no, I almost think of us as like a shoe company store where you go in and I want us like on our knee helping people try it on, like really serving our residents. But we also don't put up, we have a policy that I'll paraphrase as we don't work with jerks. And if someone's rude consistently, we don't renew their lease. I'm not going to work with people that are mean or rude, inconsiderate to our staff. I'll take a vacancy for a month, whatever, to have a peaceful, happy community of people that are just polite. And we're doing that right now in one of our most expensive units. They're almost paying $5,000 a month in rent, and they're going to get a notice because their behavior has been unacceptable, and money is not the only thing in life. So that is important, that you build good relationships, you work with good people, and we try to cultivate positive communities in our buildings over time. I think that's helpful. I can put up with a little bit of nonsense. I'm not doing this all based on judgment or whatever, but I think you have to have a line. And unfortunately, a lot of property management companies make their staff put up with anyone that pays rent. And no matter what kind of abusive language or behavior they do, as long as they're paying rent, that person has to be put up with, and that's just not how we.
That's true, and I will do the same with a client. I don't have to put up with you. I choose to work with you. I don't have to work with you.
That's a really good point. It can be hard to say no to what appears to be a lucrative client or relationship. Sometimes you have to fire a client or fire like a third-party owner in our management company. I'm just like, you know what? We're not a good fit. And I know you want to keep paying me, but it's not working. We got to go ourselves.
I had to tell you, I fired a client, and she called my husband. And they just happened to know each other. And she called my husband, and she says, I think Pam fired me. And he said, yes, she did.
Yeah, and if you can save the relationship, great, and if not, it is what it is. But I am at a point in life where I feel like I really value my time. I have two young kids, a wife at home, and I want to spend time with them. And so even if a client's nice, if they're just going to tire kick, I have a team of people that can help with that, or we could refer them out to someone else that has more time and more appetite and hunger. A young realtor just getting into it, like they don't mind spending that extra time with someone who wants to buy basic starter home. And there's different ways that I think agents can maximize the ROI in their time and when you get good clients who like, oh, they're qualified, they've got the budget for this, they know what they want. I should bend over backwards to make that work. Do not let grass grow on that one. Give them really good service because they'll start referring their friends, and you want people who are serious and teed up and able to do what you can help them do fairly quickly. And I think one of the biggest things I learned is like, I never do a showing just at a request anymore from an unknown new client. It's not worth it. I just say, great, I know you want to see 12 River Street. Let's work on getting you pre-qualified. Sure. Because quite frankly, if you don't have a bank letter saying you can buy 12 River Street, we're wasting our time here.
It's not something I have time for. You've grown as a realtor, right? You've grown, and again, your time, my time. It's valuable to me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And it's not that I always have to be maximizing every ounce and that every hour has to be pressed to get the maximum production, but I think you learn over time like what to keep, what to say no to, and what to maybe refer to someone who that's a good fit for. And I think it's great to have colleagues who do something different than you that you're friends with, and you can refer back and forth. One's commercial, one's residential, one's big, one's small, one's luxury, one's waterfront, whatever it may be. You may do better at the end of the day than trying to go way outside of your knowledge and comfort zone, try to help with this deal that you really have no idea what you're doing on, and realize that you're in over your head. I've been there, and I've been in over my head, and I'd prefer not to be. I think there's times when it's like, all right, I know I can do this, I can learn this, I can step up, and just having the judgment of when to try to step up and when to try to step out is helpful.
That's always a big one. Should I or shouldn't I? Can I do this, or do I give it to somebody else? Because there's a lot of times I totally admit that commercial is not my biggest point. I much prefer residential. I just like it more, right? Because it's warm and cuddly and filling, right? And I just like that a little bit more than commercial. So I have somebody that I work with on commercial. But I'm not opposed to doing some.
Yeah, I think partnering is a great way to go. And for someone who's good at residential, a single family with an ADU, I mean, anything up to 4 units or even a bit more, not a big deal. But if you're going for a 50 or 100 unit building or something that's a little weird, like a restaurant space, I think that partnership can be great. And I like that idea. I've partnered with residential agents, and we've served clients together. And they've brought me in and said, Dave, he really knows the commercial financing and the pro forma and the income model. We'll do all the time-consuming showing and inspecting work. I'm like, great. I can swoop in, add value in a few calls, and get half a commission or whatever, and not have to do some of the more time-consuming work. And they're like, great. Our client is going to be really well. They'll actually close because they'll get a good loan and they'll be able to do this, and we can still get a good commission out of it and so forth. So I think that idea of partnership, a small part of a big pie is better than no pie. So that's important to think about.
And how do you build relationships that lead to off-market opportunities?
That is a great question. And that is where most of my deals come from. And I think the big piece is networking among people that would bring you those off-market deals, which are other realtors. That's by far number one. And then you've got attorneys, bankers, people that are in the worlds adjacent to real estate, even contractors or inspectors or people that can be out, they call it bird dogging, of looking for deals for you. Hey, I saw a vacant house over here, grass is growing really high, I think maybe you could buy it, I know someone's cousin or uncle owns it. Those kind of things can be very valuable. But for me, it's about building a reputation as someone who is a straight shooter, and I'll buy a good deal. And it's as simple as that. If you buy a few good deals, you're going to get a reputation for buying good deals, and good deals will start to come to you. because a lot of people are good at finding a good deal, but they need someone to buy it. They're in the transaction, either as a realtor, wholesaler, flipper, people that are not the end user, so to speak. And they're looking for investors. They're looking for people who are willing to own something longer term. And just building those relationships, letting them know that you're hungry and excited and there's something in it for them. And that's the very good way to find deals. It's all about relationships. It's just like the fundraising business.
So having the good reputation as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep, it can cut both ways. I mean, if you develop a bad reputation, they're going to actively avoid you. You don't want that.
This is for sure.
You know?
Going on the other side of the street. What do you look for when you're evaluating strong investment property? What do you look for?
A rundown building in a great location.
Love it.
To put it super simply, because you can fix bad management, generally. You can't fix bad location, the bones of the building, the structure, that's very hard to change. It's expensive. But if it's not well painted and the carpet, it screams, nothing in me has changed since 1982. There's lots of houses we all go into that are like that. The carpet might smell like pet pee or whatever. Like that smell is the smell of money. That can be a great investment because buyers will look it over, they'll undervalue it. It is not beloved, it's not turnkey. If you're able to put in either the money or the sweat equity to fix something up and it's in a good location, a good school district, that can be very rewarding. And that applies to as big or as small as you want to go. My big, weird, complex, mixed-use deals with restaurants and offices and apartments, it's still about the town and the location. The building matters, but the location matters more.
Any red flags we should be looking at?
Lots of them. I think you want to be careful with mold. You want to inspect and look for that. And if that's really systemic, that can be very expensive. You want to think about lead. In the East Coast, a lot of our built environment is 1800s, and lead paint was illegal starting in 1976. A lot of it got phased out a little prior to that, but if you've got an 1800s or 1700 building, you can be rest assured there's lead in there. And if it's encapsulated in the walls, that's generally fine. But if you got doors, window frames, things of that nature that are moving, creating friction, that'll create lead dust. And if a child gets tested with lead dust, that'll be very expensive and difficult for you to deal with. That's something to keep in mind. I'm not afraid of it. I don't shy away from it. There's funding that can help with that. But it is a red flag to look at and be aware of. You don't want to get caught unaware. Roofs are very expensive to replace. You want to really inspect those carefully. The big ticket items, I think you got to look at carefully. The heating systems in a building, the roof, the membrane. I just put a $250,000 rubber roof on a building. It's 27,000 square feet.
You say a rubber roof?
Yeah, so roofs that are flat would generally use rubber membranes. And those are more expensive than asphalt shingles, where you've got a pitched roof. Those are important things to think about. And ultimately, Warren Buffett has a great saying that I'll repeat here. I won't claim credit for it, but you can't do a good deal with a bad person. So if people are deceiving you, if they're not being honest in the deal, that's a red flag. And once in a while, I can hold my nose and get through it because I know, all right, I only have to deal with them for another 2 weeks and I'm done and we're out of each other's lives. We all have to do that sometimes. If it's an anchor tenant in your building or things like that that you're stuck with for years, that is a red flag. I mean, I would be very hesitant to buy a building that you're locked into a marriage with tenants that are going to make your life very miserable. That's something to think about.
Yeah, nobody wants to be miserable, for sure.
I feel like some people do. They're just miserable people. I don't know why. They're unhappy and they're going to make you unhappy if you're around them. And in residential world, at least in Maine, each state has different laws, landlord-tenant laws, but it's fairly easy to part ways with a tenant at the end of their lease, or if they're not paying rent or damaging the property or anything like that. Commercial is a little different. If you have a commercial business run by a very difficult tenant and they've got a 10-year lease, you don't have a lot of ways to get them out of there. That lease supersedes the sale. You can't just kick them out because you're buying it. That legally binding contract stays with the building no matter who owns it.
Yeah, I think that's the way it is in most places, or at least I think here in Texas as well.
Yeah, and I should put on the I'm not a lawyer hat. I just play one on TV, get your own legal advice, etc. This has been my experience that rent, like a lease, is a contract that and there's things in that contract and in the state law that can end it early, but you want to be real careful about what those are. And it might not be a bad idea if you're buying an investment where there's an anchor tenant with a big important lease. It could be well worth your couple $100 to have a smart realtor or a smart attorney look it over, or both of them, because they'll be looking at different things.
And I always say, in my experience or in my opinion, I'm covered both ways. What mistakes do new investors often make in chasing green or tax benefits? What kind of misconceptions?
That's a great question. It's like the food pyramid, where there are your leafy greens, your vegetables, the things that you should do. They're great for you. There's no controversy. And then there's the things that are more expensive and not a great ROI, and you don't want to do a lot of that unless you really know what you're doing. So I would put like solar panels towards the top of that pyramid. They can be good, but they're very expensive. They're complicated. There's moving parts. That's not low-hanging fruit. For the right deal, the right situation, we're actually doing it right now because we're getting an 11.5% ROI without even the tax credits factored into it, because Maine, we pay absurd amounts for electricity. I'm very jealous of your Texas electric rates. We're pushing 25 cents a kilowatt hour up here. And that starts to justify more of these things. But the biggest one that I think people make a mistake with is not thinking about insulation. If you are a landlord paying for cooling or heating in your building, and you don't have a well-insulated attic, you're just blowing your money out the roof. Like you are paying thousands of dollars a year that you don't have to for a one-time simple fix. You get someone up there to air seal around the pipe penetrations going up. The air sealing is the biggest thing. You don't want cold air flowing into hot or hot flowing into cold out your roof membrane, out your attic. And they often will blow in cellulose insulation. It's very cheap. Insulating a whole attic, single family home, should be less than $5,000, sometimes less than 2 or 3. There's often incentives or rebates at local, state, county, federal levels you should look into. And the ROI is crazy. It's 50% annualized. If can save $1,000 a year on a $2,000 project, that's a 50% ROI. Like, you can't do that in Bitcoin. You can't do that in the stock market with any reliability. If forgetting about insulation, not thinking about it, I think is a big mistake that investors make, because we just take the building like, oh, it is as it is. I only care about paint and appliances. I'm not going to think about basements and attics. Like, basements and attics are where the money's made and lost sometimes. Like, you need to look at those spaces and make sure they're airtight. That's just the biggest thing. Make them airtight. They should be well insulated if you're in a climate that has extremes of hot and cold. And if you're paying the heating bill, you'll save a lot of money that way.
See, I pay an air conditioning bill. When I get off this with you, when I get off the podcast with you, I'll walk right in there to my husband and say, "How's our attic looking? Do we have enough insulation? Are we sealed up?" Because we pay $300 air conditioning bills in the summertime, August and September.
Right. Oh, yeah. And what happens in the heat is the sun hits often like dark black colored shingles. If you're doing new roofs, you want it as light as can be in a hot climate, white reflective roofing. And that heats up the attic, and the attic gets like over 100 degrees, and then that's butted right up to your ceilings. And yes, heat rises, but it also radiates and conducts, and that just means that your AC is going to have to work harder if there's a hot roof up there. Whereas with the insulation, you're keeping more of that heat away from the cooler lower part. I'm not a good physicist. Science teachers, please correct me, but these are the things that I've learned from the money side of it, that I can save a lot of money in heating and cooling by doing a one-time few $1,000 insulation job that often has rebates attached to it.
I think you kind of hit upon my next question, which was smart approaches, and that kind of hit me right there. As it was, smart approaches is taking care of these little things that make big smart choices, right?
The best things for the environment, for energy use, are often not sexy. They're not the big solar panels and wind turbines. It's putting some caulk around that gap that's letting cold or hot air in, stuff like that. I think one of the best investments that a homeowner or an investor can make, I have saved incredible amounts of money from this, is doing an energy audit. And I always recommend this to residential buyers, because those auditors will often catch things the inspector didn't. And they can catch stuff that'll save your client thousands of dollars a year or over time. They can make them happy, and they can make it more comfortable. These energy audits, they're less than $1,000, or they should be in a single family home, often less than 500. And what they should do is give you a cost benefit printout. And what it'll usually tell you is that like your best bang for the buck is going to be like basic insulation. Then you might get to your like doors and windows. But a lot of that, like a great new super fancy insulated window, you're going to be looking at $1,000 to $2,000 installed labor and materials. Sure. Whereas a basic off the shelf Lowe's or Home Depot window, you're probably looking at a few hundred. And the relative difference in insulation value is not that great. An amazing window might have an R value greater than 10, meaning it's really well insulated. A not so great window is going to be less than 2 to 6 or something. But the reality is that, again, heat rises, it's passing the window. As long as it's air sealed, that's probably the biggest thing. But these energy audits will give you lots of different information. Maybe you're heating with an inefficient fuel source. If you're using electric baseboard heating, that's 3 times more expensive to operate than a heat pump, which can also do AC. So you might want to switch if you're paying thousands of dollars in electric bills to heat with electric baseboard. So those are things that I think a good energy audit will give you. It's not just, I'm a tree hugger, I love that, but I'm doing it for financial reasons too. And I'm not just throwing money out the window. I think you should be smart about it and pick your low-hanging fruit first, where you're going to get a big bang for the buck.
Look, if you're managing over 300 homes and these are what you do for your homes that you're managing or that you own, I think that's a smart investment to know that's where you want to put your money at, because it's just wise, right? You're saving money by doing these things to see where you should be putting your money to actually save money, right? And so you're putting a little bit of money out to save yourself money, right? And in fact, it would save your tenants money as well. So I think that's pretty smart. And saving money's always sexy, because that lets me know I get to go shopping.
Yeah, that's right. I think you can do well by doing good in real estate. That's the really fun part about it. And when you encounter a building, let's say a 4-unit, where the HVAC is all on the landlord. So the landlord's paying 10 grand a year to heat and cool that building. And let's say it's an old system and it needs $1,000 of repairs when you get it. I like to say, no, I'm not paying $1,000 to repair that. I'm killing it. Turn it off. What we're going to do is we're using an acquisition and construction loan. So I'm getting financing to install 4 different heat pumps, 1 in each unit. Let's say there's 6 grand a pop. You might get a rebate or tax credit from that as well. And so that's, let's say, 20 grand to convert the building over. But now there's 4 different electric meters. And that 10 grand is now 2,500, 2,500, 2,500, 2,500, essentially, on those residents. You could even lower the rent a little bit to help out in that transition if they're not used to paying for that, to help get it started. But when you go to refinance or sell that building, every dollar of expenses you can save is worth 10 to 20 in building value. Your 10 grand that you took off of your books is an extra 100 to 200 grand of building value in the income model that you can get. And it's well worth the 20 of investment that, again, you're financing at a 4-to-1 ratio. So there are definitely like financial reasons to do these environmentally beneficial things, and they're just modern technology. I think that's another thing. Like the other piece is like ducting. I'm not a big fan of ducting, because they can grow mold and dust, and all kinds of air quality issues can come from those ducts hidden in attics and walls that you never check or clean. When was the last time any of us cleaned a duct? Like, I hope there's a few hands going up, but I'm bad about that. I don't think about them. But with heat pumps, you can do ductless, and that I think is great, because you got the filtering right in the unit. You can clean the filters very easily, run them through your kitchen sink, and you get better air quality, I think, over time than when you have ducts that no one's checking if there's mold or whatever, a mouse died in it, or et cetera.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think I've cleaned my ducts for at least 6 years.
I feel bad. I'm giving your husband a lot of to-do list items. Hey, it's
No
all
list,
for the
and
right.
he does not like it. He does not, because I'll go in there and I'll say, when was, can we, dun dun.
I enjoy these kind of manual tasks, even though I might value my time very highly. Sometimes, like, I love stacking wood. I don't mind mowing the lawn, and cleaning a duct is the kind of thing that people might be like, oh, I don't have to do my complicated day job stuff. I can turn my brain off and just do something where it's dirty to start with, then it's clean at the end, and that's satisfying. And
You know
my
what?
home's a better
It's fine.
place.
He has allergies like you wouldn't believe, so cleaning the ducts are not going to be a bad thing. So
Nope. Just you can wear a
He can
mask.
wear a
you know,
mask. He
and
can
go for it.
clean. He can clean the ducts. It's fine. He'll be able to breathe. We can turn off some of the air machines in the house. So, you know,
And here's the other thing about that. You save a lot of money if you have like filters that are clean versus clogged and dirty, because there's fan units often that have to push air through these dirty filters, and they have to work harder if you've got dirty filters. So that's another big, easy, cheap thing to do. You can look at whatever filter model it is, order them online. They're all less than $50, some of them less than 10, but that can save you actual energy and electricity by not having to push a lot of air through a.
oh, I've seen people that have not changed their filters. So it's thankfully that's on my husband's list.
It's bad. I mean, as a realtor, when I go in a basement, I see these whole house filters, and half the time they're like black, that water filter. You're like, oh my God, like you got to change it. And that's like, again, it's a $10 or $20 filter. It's a 5-minute job, and no one did it in 20 years, and it looks like death. Yeah.
My husband doesn't, he sometimes does not like me having this job because when I show a house or list a house, he's got a list of things to do. So
You can earn more commissions and hire other people, and then you're all at the pool with daiquiris, and it's all good.
he retires in 249 more weeks in 3 days, and he's gonna.
But who's counting?
Who's counting? But he's gonna go into real estate with me. Maybe I'll put him in property management with you.
There you go. Yeah, that sounds like
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I work with my wife. Just say, talk to the
Talk
boss.
to the boss.
and,
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
we have fun.
That's what I tell other people. Talk to my boss. Dave, so tell me, if people were to look for you, where could they find you?
Yep, holmanhomes.com. I work with passive investors who put in little chunks, and we split a big pie together to get the tax benefits of real estate investing. They can find me there. My email's dave@holmanhomes.com. They can just shoot me a quick email. I'm happy to hop on a quick call with people, introduce
Do
ourselves.
you work
and,
with
see
people
how-
outside of Maine?
Many. Yeah. We have investors from all over the country.
That's awesome. So tell me again, because I rudely interrupted you like I have been all day. Tell me again where we can find you.
Yeah, it's holmanhomes.com is my website. Management is our management company, and I'm happy to connect with anyone listening and watching from the show.
That's awesome. I feel like you're an awesome guest to have on. You've got so many thoughts, and it's amazing that you've only been doing this since 2019. I'm totally impressed with you.
Oh, thank you, Pam. I'm blushing, but yeah, it's there's like a saying. It's amazing what you can't do in 1 year and what you can do in 5. And if we had done the show in 2020 or 21, it would have been a totally different show.
I believe God brings you into things to learn and to do things, and then He'll bring you out of them, like your camping store. So you were brought into that, and to learn things, and then He brought you out, right? I love that you had these camping stores. I love that you've been to Bolivia. Cool dude, and I love that father-in-law took care of everything. I'd love to have you on again if you would like to come on. It'd be great to talk to you again at any time. There's always more happening beyond the listing. Stick around and catch the next episode for real talk and insights that help you move smarter and farther in real estate.